Hi everybody, this is Rose of Sharon, and I'm back again with another movie review. I just recently watched The Butterfly Effect 2, and honestly, I had known that there was a sequel to the original Butterfly Effect, but I had no idea it was a trilogy, so that in itself I found very intriguing. But I'm going to say this about the sequel to the original when the original, of course, is superior. In most cases, sequels fall under this formula, which is rather unfortunate, to be honest. But I enjoyed the second Butterfly Effect, even though, yes, the ending is quite a bit depressing. And I'm only going to give it 3.5 out of 5 because in and of itself, it's not the original. It doesn't have Ashton Kutcher, who I love Ashton Kutcher, and I don't know why they couldn't have had him do the second film, but I guess he just couldn't be contacted for whatever reason. Anyways, it's a solid film, but there are elements of the movie in which you think, well, why wouldn't Nick have taken this particular path when he had the foreknowledge and all that. But I know that's a slight spoiler to the tale of the film. But nonetheless, as the successor of the original Butterfly Effect, it really doesn't hold a candle, I'm sorry to say. And yes, it's also a low budget sequel, so it has that strike against it as well. Beyond that, I would say that, unlike the first, it's really not scary at all. Yeah, it has a sense of dread, a sense of suspense, and maybe a little bit of terror involved, but I didn't really have that sense of, getting frightened. Like, with the first Butterfly Effect, that movie really disturbed me, to be honest. I was shaken. And I don't do that very often with psychological horrors, but man, I'm thinking it was Ashton's acting, because he was that movie I think really set him on his career, because a lot of people probably thought that Ashton was just an actor they could pigeonhole into comedy roles, which he's known for his comedy roles. I mean, heck, he worked with Tom Green, and yeah, we know this. But they never really put much thought in him being a horror actor like Jim Galecki and TBBT, and he was in the reboot of The Ring, and he was incredible. I'm dead serious about this. He was phenomenal in that movie. I mean, he deserves a reward of some sort. He really does. He needs an award, but so does Ashton. But beyond that, I really can't say that much about the film without giving away plot points that are very important and integral to making up the skeleton of the movie, or the meat. And it's a good story. It's an interesting story, and it has a theme throughout that I find very, very intriguing. And I think a lot of the X-Men movies do this too, and I'm not going to say what that gives away a little bit, but I'm not going to get into it. But with the whole idea of what Nick can do, and I'm not going to say what, because if you're familiar with the first Butterfly Effect, then you probably know what I'm getting at, but I'm not going to divulge anything, so mum's the word. Needless to say, I enjoyed the film. Wasn't as impressed with it as I was with the first. Liked it, but the ending I thought was pretty gosh dang depressing, and I prefer the original over the sequel. And there is a third one called The Butterfly Effect 3 Revelations, and I really don't know that much about it, but I am going to be doing a review of it. And the reason that I'm reviewing all these different Mandela-like films is because I'm collaborating a story with a friend of mine called Mandela Man, and I think that, or actually I know, this story has a ton of potential. Plus I've had a lot of other ideas as of late that I haven't written down, but I will be writing them as soon as I can. The first one I'm going to be working on is called Princess Hanabiko, and she is the brainchild of my friend and I. She was the first Japanese Disney princess, and I wanted to do this because, I mean, why not? She's a mechanical genius, and she built her own mech called Kame, and or Kaze. Her mech's name is Kaze. Excuse me, it's not Kame. Although Kame would have been an awesome name for a mech, but it's Kaze, or wind in Japanese. And Kaze has a design that's very familiar, like a Gundam would, but I'm not going to make it look like one because that's copyright infringement, and I don't want the creators of Gundam knocking on my door saying, you can't do that. But that's the one I'm going to be working on. I'm going to be working on a script called The One Who Got Away. That one's old. I've had that idea for a long, long time. Then after that, I'm going to be working on Underwater Underground, which pairs the reptilians and the Nyrads as part of the underground. And you have Adonia at the top, who, yeah, she's going to be a very intriguing character. And there's a Nightwish song that just, with her, I would love to do an animation with it, because she has this ability to just mesmerize people and sway them to her will by just her her singing. Yeah, she's quite the vamp, for good reason. And her name's Suspira, and I've always wanted to name a character Suspira just because I love that name. And I grew up with the comic when I was a teenager, so I'm going to create my own Suspira character. Next one is a horror story. It's going to be about an obsidian mirror. Yeah, I know I've written about a mirror before, but I just thought this would be much darker and a lot creepier and have that sense of what's the word? Have a very ominous kind of tone. Next one is one I've always wanted to do. It's basically a fish out of water story where a character becomes possessed by a djinn after she drinks a bottle of wine. The djinn herself is actually bottled in a bottle of wine. I thought, yeah, I don't think that's ever been done. I think that'll be an interesting concept to kind of toy with. The next one is going to be a man who he trips upon the lesser and greater keys of Solomon, and he prays knowledge, and unfortunately he gets it. Be careful what you pray for. And then the last one, well, there's another one I'm going to write after the one I'm mentioning, but it's one I've been wanting to write. It's based on our times. It's love in the time of COVID-19. That one's going to be based on experiences of other people, probably my own experience, and I'm going to integrate that together. And the last tale that I came up with not too long ago, I actually had just a passing thought, and it's what I would consider a what-if story. What if Poison Ivy was actually a male, a botanist, which makes sense. It's a character who's a botanist, and he has a green thumb. But when I say green thumb, what I mean by that is he can animate plants, and he can understand them on the level of their frequency, because plants respond to frequency. Science has proven this. And he can communicate with them in this way. And there's a girl that he is in love with who works in the greenhouse with him. She's also a botanist. Actually, she's an herbologist. She's not a botanist, she's an herbologist. So she is scientific, though, because she has all this knowledge about how herbs heal us and how they help us. Not only that, but there's a character I'm going to create who's going to be a real chauvinist, and I've wanted to do that for a while. I've wanted to just create this boorish jerk of a character who you just want to love to hate. But yeah, that's pretty much what I'm working on. So I will check y'all later. Until next time, live long and prosper. Ciao, Tootsie.